In this video, we're going to think about how fractions can be used to represent things in the real world. So here we're told that on the Sharks dive team, there are 3 divers in 3rd grade. There are 8 total divers on the team. What fraction of Sharks dive team is in 3rd grade? So pause this video and see if you can figure that out. All right. So first of all, they tell us there are 8 total divers on the team. So maybe I'll represent each diver with a little circle like this. I'll try to make it look kind of like a diver. So that's not quite a circle, but you get the idea. It looks like something kind of diving down. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Now, if we were to talk about just one diver here, just like that, that would be 1 out of the 8. Or we would often call that 1/8. So 8 with the H at the end. That is 1/8 right over there. Or I could represent it like this. I could say this is n/8. N/8. Or I could say that this is equal to 1/8. This is one of the 8 members of our dive team. Now they tell us that there are 3 divers in 3rd grade. What fraction of Sharks dive team is in 3rd grade? So that is, let's say it's these 3. So there's 3 out of the 8. So if you wanted to represent that as a fraction, you could represent it as 3/8 like this. Or you could represent it as, if you wanted to write it out as a word, 3, instead of having it 3/8, you could write 3/8 like that. If you're doing this on Khan Academy, there would be some choices out there where you'd pick one of the correct choice, but you could represent the fraction of Sharks dive team that is in 3rd grade either as 3/8, 3/8, or 3 and then spell out the word 8s. Let's do another example. Here we are told Yuma divided his clay into 4 equal parts. He made clay animals out of 3 of the parts. What fraction of the clay did Yuma use to make clay animals? So once again, pause this video and think about it. All right. So let's just imagine that this is his clay initially, and he divides it into 4 equal parts. And so let's say he divides it like this. And let's say that I have divided it into 4 equal parts, that these all have the exact amount of clay in it. It's hand-drawn, so it's not going to be perfect the way I drew it, but let's assume they all have the exact same amount of clay. Now it says that he made clay animals out of 3 of the parts. So maybe this part right over here, he was able to make a clay animal out of. This part right over here, he made a clay animal out of. And then that part right over there, he made a clay animal out of. So what fraction of the clay did he use to make clay animals? So what would you call each of the equal parts? So if I were to just focus on that right over there, you would call that a fourth. A fourth. You could also represent it as 1/4, like that, or you could represent it as 1/4. That's if you were to just circle one of these equal parts, that one, or that one, or that one, or that one. Now if you're talking about all of his clay, what are you talking about? Well, you could view it as 4/4. 4/4, or 4/4. This would also be read 4/4. That would be referring to all 1, 2, 3, 4 of his clay. Now, if you wanted to say what fraction of the clay did Yuma use to make clay animals, we can see that 3 of the fourths were used to make clay animals. So to answer that question, we would say 3 of the fourths, so 3/4 were used to make clay animals. You can also express that as a fraction. You could also write that as 3/4 like this. You would read these the same, 3/4 or 3/4. 3 out of the 4 equal sections of clay were used to make the clay animals.